Well, Senator Bernie Sanders defying the odds and the polls, narrowly defeating Hillary Clinton in last night's Michigan primary. That victory is breathing new life into the Sanders campaign and leaving many wondering what happened to Clinton. Meantime, Donald Trump's message on free trade seemed to resonate with voters in that state. Could he capture traditional Democratic supporters in November if he becomes the Republican nominee? Let's talk about it with Mercedes Schlapp, former spokeswoman for President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor, and Jessica Ehrlich is a former congressional candidate and Democratic strategist. Jessica, to you first. We were talking about this a minute ago with Larry Sabato. What happened to the polling in Michigan? Do you have an explanation?
Well, it was certainly all over the place, but I think we've seen that this entire presidential campaign. Part of it, I think, goes to the point that in Michigan, they really haven't had, serious campaigning going on there for the primary in years. I mean, Bernie Sanders' trip to Traverse City was the first time that any presidential campaign had been there since going back to Gerald Ford. So really there was a lot of opaqueness in terms of what was going to be happening and what the turnout was going to be, which was actually enormous. I mean, close to 1 million people in the Democratic primary alone. It's just amazing.
It's an open primary there, Mercedes. Did Donald Trump perhaps exhibit some strength among traditional Democratic voters?
Oh, absolutely. I think Donald Trump's message, his economic populist message, the idea of being able to bring back jobs to the area. Remember, Michigan has been hit so hard from the economic recession. You look at the wages, they're stagnant. You look at the average household income. It is staggering to find out that they are still very low compared to the national level. You look at those statistics, and these are individuals, these Reagan Democrats, have been hurting for a very long time. You have to remember that Detroit at one point was sort of the wealth and opportunity for these blue-collar workers. And now you see a city that's been destroyed. You look at Macomb County, which, as we know, is the birthplace of the Reagan Democrats. And Trump's message of saying, I'm going to negotiate the better deals across the world and with China, with Japan, and I'm going to bring manufacturing jobs back to Michigan. That worked last night. It worked in favor of Donald Trump.
Well, and the polling, the exit polling, seems to back you up on that. And I want to stay with you for the moment, Mercedes. Among voters on the Republican side who say they think trade takes away U.S. jobs, 45% of them, again on the Republican side, went for Donald Trump. 22% for Cruz, 20% for Kasich, and 9% for Rubio. Clearly, whatever Donald Trump was saying regarding trade resonated in Michigan.
That's right. And you look at Michigan, where with NAFTA, they lost over 230,000 jobs. They've had high unemployment numbers. They've been hit hard with the auto plants closing, offshore jobs obviously leaving Michigan. The jobs are leaving Michigan. So I think for Donald Trump, his simplistic message of being the tough negotiator, of saying, I'm the one that can cut these deals. We don't need, we have to stop losing our shirts, as he keeps saying, to these other countries. That is working in Michigan, and we're going to see if that message can resonate in Ohio, in Illinois, in these other industrial states in the Midwest.
Jessica, let's talk to you about that same question on the Democrat side. The polling, the after polling suggests that voters went for Bernie Sanders in a big way among Democrats who think that trade takes away U.S. jobs. 58% of them voted for Bernie Sanders, 41% voted for Clinton. Is that going to be a big issue going forward on the Democratic campaign trail?
I think it is. We see it as one of the key Democratic talking points is sort of the income inequality. But when you're really dealing with the Rust Belt, I mean, this is pretty much one of the first times in, at least 20 years where these people have actually felt like they've had a voice in terms of the decisions that are going on in a presidential level, and they're totally turned off by just the rhetoric that politicians have been giving them, that, oh, all boats are going to rise due to the economy and everything else. I mean, the Rust Belt, the states that Mercedes was pointing to, I mean, they have been just devastated, and it's the middle class there that really has been hit the hardest, and that's the main issue that Democrats are dealing with, whether it's Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton. She just happens to be a little bit more tarred by the brush of her husband being, the person who got NAFTA through. That's one of the reasons we didn't see him as much in Michigan campaigning. So, it's a very, very interesting sort of thing we're going to be seeing, whether it's Ohio, those counties that were close in Michigan to the Ohio border, Illinois going forward. We've got some winner-take-all states there. And it's really the undercurrent that, D.C. and all the other sort of strategists seem to be missing, is that these are the folks, that's why they like Donald Trump, and they're really reacting to Bernie Sanders' message, because they feel that no one has heard them and no one has been acting for them in a very long time.
Donald Trump, speaking of rhetoric on the campaign trail, brought it up last night in regard to one of his competitors. I want you to hear what he had to say, Mercedes.
I have no message to Marco. I think that, he has to make his own. It's been a tough night for him, but he's going to make his own decision. I've actually had a good relationship with Marco, believe it or not. He became hostile about 2 weeks ago, and it didn't work. See, hostility works for some people. It doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work for him. He was better. He would have been better off had he kept the original pitter-patter going, but this didn't work.
Mercedes, what do you think about Donald Trump's campaign advice to Marco Rubio?
Well, I think Donald Trump is correct in the sense that Marco Rubio, the inspirational Marco Rubio plays a lot better than when he's trying to be sort of the going after Donald Trump, attacking him, talking about small hands. That was a big moment where I think he lost a lot of respect, because there was something so original and pure about Marco Rubio's message in terms of being the son of the bartender, the son of the maid, being able to aspire for the American dream. And he's really suffered. And also, in addition to that, is the fact that his ground game hasn't been the best. We know that Ted Cruz has had a very solid ground game in so many of these states. That's why he's competing so well against Donald Trump. It was a very tough night for Marco Rubio. Tomorrow's debate is in Miami, so it is in his home turf. So we could probably see Marco Rubio being a little more comfortable in his skin. But when it looks at these poll numbers in Florida, it's just not very promising for the junior senator.
Jessica, do Donald Trump's Michigan results cause concern among Democrats? I mean, could he pull away those traditional blue-collar voters who have typically voted on the Democratic ticket?
I don't think we're really going to see that so much. Once we get into the general election and all of the issues are out there, yes, it's been interesting. I think he got maybe close to 7% I saw of Democrats who were voting with him. I don't think we're going to see a huge surge with, a lot of the other points of his message that have been coming up. But I think what it does is sort of put the spotlight more on this income inequality and things we've been seeing and the real pain that the middle class is suffering. And it's a great opportunity for Democrats to get out and really get in front of the message and show people what we're going to do and how we're going to fix things going forward, and that, we're the party and the people who need to be able to do that.
Still a lot of campaign yet to go. Jessica Ehrlich, Mercedes Schlapp, thank you both.